So WWE announced the rules of the WWE Draft. SmackDown will get the first pick on Friday. Raw gets the first pick. They said there's 6 rounds on Raw, 4 rounds on SmackDown. I'm assuming this has to do with because one's 2 hours and the other's 3 hours. And then they say that the final draft picks will be locked until after Backlash. So I want to make this very clear that one of the draft selection of the draft rules that I'm not a fan of, and some people might like it, but to me, I don't really like it all that much. That is that they made a rule that all main roster champions, except for Asuka and Kairi Sane, who are the women's tag team champions, are locked to their brand. So the champions cannot change. Which, in my opinion, I think is a really dumb move. If they did this when the titles were still known as the Raw and SmackDown champions, then I'd understand it. Because then you're preventing the Raw, SmackDown, women's and tag team champions to switching shows. And then you can have the US and IC and Universal and WWE swap shows. But to me, this makes no sense. Why even bother go through the effort of switching the names, new belt designs? What's the point of the new belt designs and changing the names of the belts if you're just going to say, nah, we're going to lock them. They stay on their current show. Which, mind you, Cody Rhodes is a Monday Night Raw superstar, which, again, I spoke about this on one of my videos, that apparently Cody Rhodes said he's now a SmackDown superstar, which, again, to me, it makes no sense. To me, it makes no sense for him to randomly say he's a SmackDown superstar when we all know he's a Raw guy. This is why, to me, locking the champions makes no sense, because even though Cody said he's a SmackDown guy when he really isn't, that means both world champions are on Raw. Now, I know they're going to say Cody's a SmackDown wrestler, which, again, I think doesn't make any sense for him to always be on Raw, but then the moment he wins the Undisputed Championship, he's now a SmackDown guy. So to me, that makes no sense. Makes no sense to me. Does that make sense to you guys? If it makes sense to you guys, then please tell me how it makes sense to you. But the interesting thing is that the new rosters are not going to be fully activated until after Backlash in France. So technically, there could still be things that could end up happening before then, which I doubt will have any title changes from that point on, unless they're trying to suggest that Sami Zayn will lose and Logan Paul will lose their belts before then, which I doubt. Which, mind you, speaking of Logan Paul, they're promoting him on Raw. So why is it that the champions are locked to their brands, but Logan Paul can appear on Raw next week? Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. Why lock the champions? To me, when I saw that graphic of them announcing that Logan Paul was going to be on Raw next week, it made me assume that, they're giving it away. They're obviously telling us that Logan Paul's going to be on Raw. Unless they're trying to say that the champions can be traded to other shows, which again, it just doesn't make any sense. Why lock the champions? Why lock them? And let's not forget, they also said Ilya Dragunov and Roxanne Perez from NXT were also eligible for this draft. Doesn't that prevent Roxanne from being drafted? Because if you're good, because again, all champions except the Kabuki Warriors can be drafted. Well, all champions except for the Kabuki Warriors can't be drafted. So does that mean Roxanne Perez has to stay on NXT now? Because by those rules, she can't move from NXT because she's a champion. She's locked to NXT. Unless they're gonna say, well, we meant main roster champions. NXT champions can still get drafted. But then that breaks your all champions are locked rule. You can't just say all champions but not include the NXT champions. Now I know Ilya Dragunov isn't NXT champion anymore, so he can now get drafted, which makes sense because he's going up to the main roster. Which is why I felt Roxanne should have lost the NXT Women's Championship, because if you're making this rule that champions are locked, and if you want Roxanne Perez on the main roster, why have her stay champion? Why have her stay champion then? Could have just given the belt to Tatum Paxley, because I feel like Tatum Paxley deserves the championship at this point. It makes no sense to me. It really doesn't. It makes no sense to me. It's weird. This whole locking champion thing, it just doesn't make any sense. And another thing that I don't really like is how they tried to say that injured wrestlers are not going to be eligible in the draft, but yet CM Punk and Seth Rollins are going to be eligible for the draft when Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley are not. Carmella, Alexa Bliss, who are apparently coming back very soon, and they're not eligible either. If Carmella and Alexa Bliss are fit, ready to go, and they're going to come back soon, why not make them eligible? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And the lineup they really made, it did not look great either. I'm going to say that very clear. The lineup they put out did not look very great either. Triple H's draft is lame. I can't believe Triple H has somehow ruined the draft concept. I have no idea how he was able to pull it off. A concept that I'm usually excited about, Triple H has now completely ruined all of it, all because of a rule that he made up saying all the champions are locked. They have to stay where they are. They have to stay where they are instead of making things interesting. Instead of just making things interesting by confirming that Cody Rhodes is on SmackDown by having him drafted to SmackDown, but now he's locked. He is locked in on SmackDown, even though he was never officially traded, he was never officially drafted to the show. He's just now on the show. He's just now on SmackDown. No explanation to why he's on SmackDown. He's just on SmackDown now, so just accept it. The locked rule it's just lame. It's lame. It ruins the fun. It ruins the fun, because some of the champions changing shows is a part of the fun. The champions changing shows is a part of the fun, because you don't know what championship is going to end up on what show. The World Heavyweight Championship could end up on SmackDown. United States title could end up on Raw. The World Tag Team titles could end up on SmackDown. A-Town Down Under could end up on Raw. You see, that takes away the fun. Becky and Bayley could have swapped shows. That takes away the fun. That takes away the fun of the draft. But now we have to watch a whole bunch of mid-carders and possibly a couple of high-profile wrestlers get drafted, or because you're blocking the champions from being drafted, in my opinion, it takes away the fun. It really does. It takes away the fun. It doesn't make the draft exciting. I feel like locking the champions is one of the worst decisions that Triple H has made when it comes to the draft. The Kabuki Warriors, if you're gonna lock the champions, you may as well lock them too. You may as well lock them too. Because why does it matter? But why are they eligible? How come they're eligible to be drafted, but all the other champions are not as well? Like, that makes no sense. Why lock all the other champions to their brand, but the women's tag team champions are not locked? What, is it because the women's tag team titles float between two different shows? And you're saying, well, they float between two different shows, that's why they're locked. Make them exclusive. Make them exclusive. Why not? Why not make them exclusive to a single show? Have one division, like Monday Night Raw. You can have Monday Night Raw with just the women's tag division, like they can have all the women's tag teams. SmackDown can have majority of the singles wrestlers. Not all of them, but majority. You know, Raw needs their singles wrestlers as well. But that way you can balance it out. It just makes no sense to me. This whole thing of locking the champions, to me, just makes no sense, and I don't really like it. I'm just going to make that clear, I don't like it. So, thank you all for watching this video. Hit that thumbs up if you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.